Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're going to look at the Samsung Galaxy Tab S, the 8.4-inch version. There's also a 10.5-inch version. This is Samsung's new high-line set of tablets in a very confusing long list of tablets that they make. We're going to look at it now, and maybe you can decide which one, if any, you want. So this is the Galaxy Tab S 8.4. Like I said, there's also a 10.5-inch model, so you 10-inch tablet folks, there's one there for you too. Both of them are 6.6 millimeters thin, which is around 0.26 inches if you don't speak metric. That makes them very thin. They're also the lightest tablets in their class yet from Samsung. Really some of the lightest tablets, period, for their particular sizes. It's obviously an attractive enough looking tablet here. We've got white, we have the gold accents over here, kind of a warm yellow gold, and it's also available in, well, a kind of brown bronzy color too, if you prefer that. 8.4-inch display, obviously, hence the name. Back has a finish not unlike the Samsung Galaxy S5 smartphone. It's kind of a dimpled, stippled finish. Soft, touchy, grippy. Sure, it's plastic. Yes, it is. But it's not bad looking, not at all. At least I think the white one's pretty good looking. And while we're looking at the back here, you can see there's the camera, of course, 8 megapixel with an LED flash. Pretty much the same fare that you're going to find on all of Samsung's higher-end tablets. And these funny little guys, these are for the optional case that mounts, and the case actually has little pokey buttons that go in there to make for a little bit more of a rigid origami-style case. Taking a look around the sides here, well, nothing on this side. Up top, we have our speaker and matching speaker on the bottom there for stereo sound. There's our 3.5 millimeter combo audio jack, USB 2.0 port, not a 3.0 port like we see on some Samsung tablets and smartphones. And over here, micro SD card slot is compatible with SDXC cards, high capacity cards. A little IR window there for TV AV remote control. Comes with Samsung Watch On application for content discovery, i.e. a TV grid, and suggestions, and you can control your receiver, your TV, that sort of thing. Volume buttons right here, your power button over here. Microphone hole right up there, built-in microphone. On the front we have a 2.1 megapixel camera right there. Light sensor as well, and the usual Samsung hardware clickable home button, and then we have our multitasking button, and then we have our back button. In terms of internals, you're looking at the Samsung Galaxy Tab Pro 8.4, released not so long ago, all over again. This makes it confusing for shoppers, and kind of Samsung is parodying themselves at this point, releasing so many tablets that are so darn similar. So, the Tab Pro 8.4, when it came out, that was $399. Now it's been reduced to $329. Probably that's a permanent price reduction, because this guy here is $399, and that's for the 16 gig Wi-Fi only model, the price I'm speaking of. Samsung says there will be a 32 gig for this. I know for the 10.5-inch 16 and 32 gigs are available, but I haven't seen a 32 gig actually in the wild yet for the 8.4-inch. What's the difference between this and the Tab Pro 8.4? This has a Super AMOLED display. Very colorful, very high contrast. All those things that are very pretty about Super AMOLED. If you have a Samsung Galaxy S5, you have a Super AMOLED display. Much as we sometimes picked on that display technology, at first it was one of the best things on the block. Then it went through a period where the whites were really pretty dingy. Colors were a little overblown and cartoony looking. Now they really have gotten it down right, where the whites are pretty darn white. You can see even the whites here, say the camera icon, look very white. The colors are really, really zingy. Certainly more saturated than you'll see on most, but not unrealistic anymore. And there are a bunch of different color settings you can choose on this, which is not unusual on the higher-end Samsung Galaxy Tab product. Good Adobe RGB rating, so you get a wide color gamut on here. It really is a nice display. It really does have extremely high contrast. Deep blacks are a hallmark of Super AMOLED. So that's what you're getting here versus the Tab Pro 8.4, that really nice display. The other thing you're getting is the fingerprint sensor. This home button doubles as a fingerprint scanner, just like it does on the Samsung Galaxy S5. And let's give it a try. And you can see it's telling me to swipe. There's a little symbol right there, and that's the finger I've enrolled, and oops, not that time. Let's give it another try. Second time it got through. It's pretty good. Just like they've improved the Samsung Galaxy S5 fingerprint scanner since it first came out, it works pretty well. So if you like that feature, that's something else you get with the Galaxy Tab S. Display resolution is 2560 by 1600. Nice, really high resolution, making for 360 ppi pixel density, so really sharp display. Competes nicely with the iPad mini with Retina Display, and likewise the 10.5-inch model competes nicely with the iPad Air. In terms of what's inside, again, you're looking at the same thing as you would in the Tab Pro line. Now, there will be LTE models coming, and typically the Exynos that's in here, made by Samsung CPU, will get swapped out for a Snapdragon because that is compatible with a variety of LTE chipsets. At Qualcomm, who makes Snapdragon, also makes those LTE chipsets that happen. So you may see something different in terms of CPU. Performance will be about the same, or perhaps even a little bit better, depending on the Snapdragon that they use. Anyway, inside here we have the Exynos 5 Octa with Mali T628 graphics. That's the 5420 chip, 1.9 gigahertz quad core for your everyday super powered tasks that you need, and there's also a quad core of 1.3 gigahertz low power CPUs to handle, well, low power tasks. It's supposed to save some power. It does a reasonably good job of that. 3 gigs of RAM inside, and like I said, you get this with 16 gigs of storage, and Samsung lists at 32 gig. So you can augment that with microSD cards, of course, as well. The tablet has dual-band Wi-Fi 802.11ac with MIMO, Bluetooth 4.0, and a GPS with GLONASS. Even if you don't get the LTE version, you get the GPS with GLONASS. The software is Android 4.4 KitKat, which is currently the latest, greatest, and of course Samsung TouchWiz elements all over the place here. So we have little customizations. You actually have quick access to My Files, which I think is a brilliant idea right there, which is your file manager. And there's your app drawer. Usual stuff going on there. Samsung's fairly fancy settings over here. You can see a whole lot of things are available to you. Control of screen rotation, your sound, location, ultra power saving mode is available, adaptive display, which tries to adapt the colors to the environment you're in. So if you happen to be in a really purple room, it might dial back the purples, for example. Multi-window is here, the multitasking that we see on a whole lot of Samsung Galaxy products at this point. Screen mirroring, i.e. wireless display, sync, and if you want to go to more settings, right there, there's the full palette of quick settings. You can edit those as you see fit, and if you want the full display of settings, here it is in the usual 4-tab, kind of toned down for the latest version of TouchWiz. Look right here. If you want to do multitasking with the split window, there's how you do it right there. You just bring it on out and it'll hide itself if you don't do anything with it after a while. So say I want My Files, just drag it where you want it, right there, and say I want the video player. So there it is. We'll resize if you want to do that. You want to replace it with another window, you just drag it over there. So, there it is. Floating video player, all the usual things you expect on this. Again, really, it's pretty much the Tab Pro, just with the nicer display and the fingerprint scanner. If those are worth $70 to you, and understandably they might be, particularly the very pretty display. Yeah. It's obvious which you'll pick. And yes, it is a gorgeous display. You look at it and it's just really nice. Let's compare it to the iPad mini with Retina Display so we can see the difference. Now, obviously Samsung's kind of cheating a little bit here because they have this really colorful background on there. So we'll also pull up some web pages. Now the iPad mini with Retina Display is certainly no slouch in terms of quality and resolution, but the blacks are richer on the Samsung. It's a little bit better suited to widescreen content, movie watching, because it is widescreen format, whereas we have the 4:3 ratio on the iPad, which is great for reading and pretty good for looking at web pages, but you will get your black bars if you're looking at video. And here's a comparison with the same web page, our web page showing mobiletechreview.com. Great website to visit if you want to learn about products, obviously. You can see they both look very nice and sharp, and the Samsung really holds its own with a very white. They're both set to maximum brightness right now, so no snarky comments about one was set to higher brightness than the other. They are both set to maximum brightness. They're both very bright. They're both very pleasing to look at. Pinch zooming, of course, here. We're using Safari on this, and we're using Chrome over here. We zoom in so you can see the text a little bit more. It's very sharp on both of these. I would still give the edge to the Samsung for a bit higher apparent contrast, which makes text look a little bit sharper. Of course, it is a bit higher resolution as well. And for some reason, our camera is making the screen on the Samsung look a bit pink, whereas in person it actually does not. Something about the colors and the camera together are doing that. So how about performance metrics? That means benchmarks. On Quadrant, this scored 21,513. 3D Mark, the Ice Storm Unlimited test, 13,475. On Tutu, 32,927. Geekbench 3, single core, 935, multi-core, 2739. And the SunSpider JavaScript test, where lower numbers are better, using the WebKit web browser, because you get both Chrome and the WebKit web browser here, 468. Those are fine numbers, very strong, and right up there with the Galaxy Tab Pro line. So you're looking at pretty much the same performance there, and you're looking at one of the fastest Android tablets on the block right now. Same thing would be true of the 10.5, which is running on the same hardware. And for those of you who are also considering the Nexus 7, the second generation here, getting a little bit old, been on the market for a while, but still a very nice device. You can see the size difference right here. The performance is going to be a lot faster on the Galaxy Tab S, but you're also spending a lot more money, $399 here. So, and in terms of size, you get the idea. And the Nexus is also heavier. Of course, it does things like run a pure Google experience, so you can get your OS updates quicker. So in fact, those of you who are quick to notice such things probably notice we have Android L beta running on this already. We're not going to make you watch us play games and things like that, because this is about as fast as you can get in an Android tablet. It's going to run anything available in the way of cutting-edge 3D games really well, and of course it's going to be very pretty because the screen is also very nice. How about battery life? 4,900 milliamp battery inside, sealed inside. That's 100 milliamps more than the Tab Pro 4, 8.4 rather. 100 milliamps really doesn't make much of a difference, probably just to drive the Super AMOLED display on there. Now, Samsung claims about 10 hours of use on a charge. So far, we're still putting this through tests on the battery, but it's managing about 8 hours or so to 8.5 hours, which is par for the course, at the better end of things for an 8-inch class tablet. In terms of camera, once again, you're looking at the same things you would get on the Tab Pro line of tablets, which is, say, a very decent 8-megapixel camera here, and also with the 8.4-inch size more manageable, so you might actually be using this more often to take pictures. You can see it's got autofocus, it's working on focusing. We have the usual Samsung kind of thing where you can choose from beauty face, panorama, HDR, dual camera mode, all of those sort of things are here as well, and then a whole lot of settings. This can capture video up to full HD. It does not do 4K video recording. So a lot more settings over here. A pretty good camera, honestly, for a tablet, with a whole lot of software features that I find pretty enjoyable on the Samsung line of products. So all in all, yeah, it's one of the nicest Android tablets that you can get. Of course, it doesn't come cheap at $399 for the 16 gig version, and $499 for the 10.5-inch version. Obviously, Samsung is trying to get these to put these in a space to compete with the iPad, be it iPad mini with Retina Display or iPad Air. You get incredibly thin and light design right here. You're talking about 10.4 ounces, which is a little over an ounce lighter than the Tab Pro 8.4. You get very fast performance. You get a really gorgeous screen here that is a pleasure for looking at photos, watching movies, all that sort of thing. So if you're looking for the high end, well, in an Android tablet, this would be it, unless you really despise Samsung's TouchWiz software. So that's the Samsung Galaxy Tab S 8.4. It and its bigger brother, the 10.5-inch, are just available now. And yes, it's one of the nicest Android tablets on the market, assuredly. And even amongst Samsung's high line of tablets, I think probably it's going to be the one most people pick. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to visit our website for the full review. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.